Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel My Time My Teacher. In this video we will talk about class 12th sociology, second book, chapter number 4, change and development in rural areas. Before starting the chapter, it is better to understand what are the rural areas. Rural areas, here we mean those areas which are far away from the infrastructure, from the roads, from the transport, from the urban areas, from the facilities like school, hospital and job opportunities. All those areas are called rural areas. And one another main identification of rural areas is that the areas where the people, the residents, they are having agriculture as their main occupation. That is called rural areas. So today in this video we will talk about the rural areas, whatever changes took place there and whatever development happened. Especially we will talk about the British period when the Britishers were ruling India and the Indian people, they were fighting for their livelihood. How the rural areas got affected, how the changes took place, that is the content of this video. In the very beginning, we'll talk about the culture and agriculture. As you see, the names both are looking quite equal, culture, agriculture. Or we can simply say the people, the culture which is going to agree, or the people, those who are going to agree the culture, that is also called the agriculture. How the people are going to agree. That especially happens in rural areas in agriculture, because as I told you in my other videos, that when the people they move from rural areas to urban areas and start living in the colonies, they forget their culture. They do not follow it as it is as they had. So the people of the villages, the people of the rural areas, they follow their culture exactly, whatever it is, without manipulating, without changing in any of the manner. To begin with, I have written here the festivals like Pongal, Baisakhi and Sankranti. These are the festivals which I have written here. But you know that the festivals which we are celebrating, they all are related with agriculture, the farming, the harvesting of the crops. That is the reason why the festivals are celebrated. The reason is that the people of the villages, they are having only one source of income, that is agriculture. The production that they are getting after harvesting the crop, that is the income of their year or half year, you can calculate. It takes almost 2 crops in a year, so half yearly also we can calculate the income. A person can only celebrate a festival when he has money in his pocket. When there is no money, when there is no time to celebrate, the celebration goes without any fruit. So it is better to celebrate the festivals while we are having the harvest season. The same is there in different parts of the country, in Punjab, in UP, in Haryana, in South India. The festivals are directly related with the harvesting of the crop. When the people, they are getting the time to celebrate, when the people, they are getting the money to spend on the festival, that is called culture, and it is also a part of agriculture. The way how the people, they are moving from agriculture to culture. Without agriculture, without harvesting, without production, without income, there is no meaning of culture, right? This is about how we have the relation between culture and agriculture. They both are interrelated, we cannot separate them, right? Now next we are moving towards land holdings. Land holdings were of 5 types. Number 1, large landowners. Number 2, medium landowners. Number 3, marginal landowners. Number 4, tenant landowners. And number 5, landless landowners. See, I have written here 5 types of land holdings. The first one, large landowners, medium landowners, marginal landowners, tenant landowners, and landless landowners. Now, one by one, we'll come to these all. Large landowners, these were the people, those who were basically treated as landlords, those who had large piece of land, wide area they covered under their land. So that is why this is called large landowners. They were the landlords, or you can call it they were the richest people. They were the powerful people in the society. Because of the land they acquired, they had large land, so they needed lot of laborers to be employed there. The laborers were helping them, and later on they were getting more production, more harvesting was done. Then because of the production they were getting lot of income. So they were the richest people in the society. After that we have the medium landowners. Medium landowners were a part of large landowners only. Those when the family was divided, when they were living, they were having many members in the family. Imagine the large landowner, they were the 2 brothers. One was having 1 son, another was having 4 sons. So the one who was having 1 son will become large landowner again, and the one who is having 4 sons, they will shift from large to medium landowners, because the land that will be divided into 4 sons, right? That we have a medium. They were also landlords, but not like that. They were not so rich, but still rich people, and they were not so powerful, but still you can say they were having good respect in the society. They were not so powerful, not so rich, not so wealthy, but still they were having quite a good place in the society. The third one, marginal landowners, they were like just earning as they need. The land which they had, that was as much as it was required for their survival, whatever land was required, because the production that they were getting in their land, that they could not sell in the market, because they were not having any kind of surplus production. The production they were getting, that was required for their family. The production the land which they had, that was sufficient for their work. They could hardly hire anyone to work in their fields, because the family members were enough to work in the fields. The agriculture land, that was limited, while the family members were so many. So they could try to manage their land with themselves only, without engaging the labor. If they were going to engage labor in that, then they need to spend money on that, and that was not possible, because they were not getting anything more. The fourth one is the tenant landowners. Tenant landowners were the people, those who were taking the land on rent. They were taking the land on rent. Who was giving the land on rent to them? Either large landowners or the medium landowners. These were the 2 people who had lot of lands for them. So what they were giving in on lease or on rent, you can call it, to these people. Now who were the tenant? These were either the marginal landowners were the people, or these were the landless laborers. Right? Mostly these were the marginal landowners, because whenever they had a little bit amount for them, they could use that to invest in the in the rent. So they could just have somebody's land from these on rent, on lease, and they could use that also to increase their production, to increase their income that was required for them. Landless landowners, these were the people who were basically the laborers. Landless, as the name suggests, that they did not have any land. So they were just working on wages in the fields of any one of these, mostly in the large landowners or in the medium landowners. Sometimes if it was required, they were getting work in marginal landowners and the tenant landowners also, but not all the time, because that was not possible for these two to arrange the laborers in the production. They need to pay for them, and that was not good for them. So the landlords, the people, those who were living in the rural areas, they were divided into 5 parts. Once again, I am revising them. The first one was large landowners, second one medium landowners, third one marginal landowners, fourth one tenant landowners, number 5th landless landowners. Right? Hope it will be clear. Right? Now we are moving to the next part, next topic of the chapter. That is the position of women. As you know, the topic, the chapter, we are talking about position of women in rural areas, in villages, not in cities. So if we think about today also, now in 21st century, we find that the condition of women, that is still not good in the rural areas. But if we talk about the contemporary times, those times, then we see they were only supposed to produce children and take care of them. Doing household jobs, no education, child marriage. These 4 were the main problems which the women were suffering during those days. The first one, it was to produce the children and to take care of them. According to the society, the women, they were supposed to have only these roles, like they were getting married so that they can give birth to the new children in the society, new children in the family, and to take care of them. That was also the work of the women, not of the man in the family. The reason was that the man in the family, they were going on the agriculture work to the fields which were far away from the villages, from the houses. That was not possible to give any time for them to the children. So that's why it was also supposed to be the responsibility of the women to take care of the children. Next one, household jobs, doing all kind of household jobs, cleaning, cooking. These all were the jobs of the women of those times, because if the women are not going to do, then we do not have any other person to complete the jobs. Who will do that? All the male members of the family, they were going to the fields. Then the women were left only in the house, so they were supposed to fulfill the household duties as well. The third one, no education. The education for the girl child was not supposed to be good. The reason, the schools were very less in the society during those times. Moreover, if you are giving education to the girl child, then the girl will simply deny to do the household jobs, and that will be a problem to have the family in the society, to run the family. So the better option is that do not give any education to the girl child, and that will be in the same track as her mother is going to live. So that was the reason behind it all. The last one, the child marriage. During that time also, the child marriages were in fashion in the society, because it was treated that if the girl is going to become elder, 20 or more than that years, then you will not get a suitable boy for the girl. So it was better, if you want to be free from the responsibilities of the girl child, to get her married, it is better to get her married before 18 or 20, around 15, 16, 17. That was not good. If you are moving forward till 20 or more than that, it will not be possible to find a suitable boy for that. Right? So these were the problems which the women of those times were suffering in the villages. Still, if we believe, now also the condition has little bit improved, not so much in the villages, in the rural areas, those who are far away from the cities. Right? Next topic we will take is the dominant caste. What is a dominant caste? Dominant, the word itself tells that the one person who is going to dominate others, जो सबको इधर उधर घुमाने वाला है, जो सबको अपने अंडर रखने वाला है, that is called dominant. Remember, just 2 minutes before I told you about the landowners. The first one was large landowners. I also told you that these were the people who were the landlords. The landlords, the richest people of the society, they were the people who were going to dominate the people in the society, in the villages. Because they were rich, they were powerful, they could have fashion, they could treat or ill-treat anyone. So they were the people, they were the caste who were going to ill-treat others, to manipulate everything for their benefit. And that was the reason those castes were called dominant caste in the society. Nobody had the dare to disturb them in any of the manner, right? So the dominant caste were the castes which were going to do whatever they like in the society, and no one have the dare to protest against them, right? Now we will talk about our next topic. Next topic is tax collection. It is true that any government cannot be run without the taxes, because the government does not have any other source than collecting taxes from the people, from the public, from the subject. So the British government, they were also collecting taxes from the people, from the farmers, from the villages. How they were collecting, that we will talk here. They were having 3 systems. The number one was Zamindari system. The number 2 was Raiyatwadi. And the number 3 was Mahalwadi. The 3 systems were there, and how they all 3 were not running together, but one by one they were changing. The very first system was Zamindari system. What was that? Zamindari means we are talking about Zamindar, we are talking about landlord. So the landlord who was responsible for collecting taxes from the locality, from the area, he was responsible for that. He was landlord, was supposed to collect taxes from the villages and from the people of the villages. A single landlord was having many villages under him, 5, 10, 20, 50. So he was responsible to collect taxes from those villages, from all the people of those villages, right? It was his responsibility to collect taxes and then give it to the British government. But what happened, slowly they collected extra taxes in the name of Britishers. They collected extra taxes in the name of British government. When they started collecting extra taxes from the people started protest, and slowly the voice reached to the British government. The reason was that the farmers, those who were giving more taxes, they were becoming poorer and poorer, while the landlords, those who were collecting extra taxes, they were becoming richer and richer year by year. So when the complaints reached to the British government, they decided to change the system. And the next system we got was the Raiyatwadi system. Raiyatwadi system was the system when the British government made head of the family British government made a system, Raiyatwadi system. According to that, they made head of the family, or whatever head of the family was, he was responsible to collect taxes from the family members, all the family members, because during those days we had joint families or extended families. So he was supposed to collect taxes from all those family members, then give it to the British government directly. But what happened after a few years, when it ran, they got less taxes. Very less taxes were given to the British government, because they were the family members and they were manipulating the taxes by telling lies. For example, the crop failure, the less production, and changing the name of the crop, that we were not having this crop, we were using that crop, and so on. Different excuses they were giving to save taxes. Because of that, the government was getting very less. So government tried to change that also, and the next time they brought another system, that was Mehelwadi system. Here what we got? Here we got head of the village who was supposed to collect taxes from the people. After that, landlords in Zamindari, one person was responsible for many villages. Rayatwadi, one person was responsible for the family members. And the third one, Mehelwadi system. In that system, a village headman was appointed. Means one person in every village was appointed to collect taxes from the farmers, so that the farmers are giving taxes and the real taxes are reaching to the government. That system was fairer than these all. The government was trying to collect as much taxes as they could do in the different formats, but still it was not possible. The Mehelwadi system, these people also tried to destroy the system by collecting extra taxes, by discriminating among the people on the basis of their friendship and enmity. So the government tried to change that also. After that, we got complete freedom. Complete freedom was given to all, and all the systems were abolished. And later on, the government brought it that it was the duty of the farmer itself to deposit the taxes directly to the government. Whose duty it was? The duty of the farmer, so that they could collect the taxes not from anybody, from themselves. They could decide and they could deposit it directly into the account of the British government or into the office of the British government, right? That was the system of tax collection, which moved on from one to another. The government all the time was trying to get taxes, as well as to treat the people very politely, very honestly, and very genuinely. Whenever there were some complaints, they always tried to manipulate the system, right? This was about it. Now we will come to next. The next topic is land ceiling. Land ceiling, what is that? Ceiling, you know, the roof ke niche ka jo hissa hota है ceiling, a cap. A cap was tried to be done by the Britishers. Why the reason? The reason was when the landlords, they were getting extra income from the people, from the farmers. They were not ready to help the British government in any way. When they were not helping in any of the way, then the problem came that the Britishers were trying to finish their landlordship. They were trying to change the system, because they saw that few people were rich, were the landlords, while other people were the landless people. So they tried to change the system. How? By using the land ceiling. They put a capping on 220 acres. Earlier, the time before land ceiling, the landlords were having thousands of acres of land with them. Because of that, they were called landlords. Because of that, they were running their power. They were misusing it. They were molesting the people, right? So the government just brought a rule that the people, those who have more than 220 acres of land, they will have to leave the extra land. It will go to the government's account, not to anybody else. You can have only 220 acres, not more than that. Those who were having less than 220 acres, there was no problem with them. But those who had more than that, the extra land was gone to the government's account. Right? Extra land, it was gone to government. After that, when the extra land went to the government made land records also. Land records in order to find out that who is having how much of land and how many people are landless in the society. That was required by the people, by the government. So when the government got the land records, the government decided to divide this extra land to the landless people. Those who were the landless people in the society, they were given a small pieces of land so that they can work in their own land. They can get at least whatever they need to live themselves properly. They could work in their own fields. They were also the landlords now. They were no more the laborers only. So the government tried to divided the land into the people, those who were landless. It was just going to improve their condition, because still they were just laborers, but now they are going to work as their owners in their own fields. So they could get some production in their fields, which is surely going to improve the condition of the society. After that, the another thing which the government did is government brought tenancy reforms also. Tenancy reforms, I told you landowners, the people, those who were taking the land on rent, on lease from the landlords, there was always a confusion of system with them, because there were two people engaged, the poor farmer and the rich landlord. When the lease, the rent was decided, either a fixed amount was decided, some money or the grains, or it was a system of sharecropping, that the particular share of the production will be given to the landlord. Mostly 1/3 or 1/4 was given. But the thing was, the disputed were always there, because whenever the production was very less, the landlord was asking half of the production. Whenever the production was more, again the landlord was asking half of the portion. When the production was less, the farmers were trying to beg with the landlords that they could not pay the rent. Again, it was a loss for the landlords. When the production was more, they were insisting that I will give you only whatever is decided, right? There was a confusion, there was a dispute from both the sides, from the side of farmers as well as from the side of landlord. So the government tried to manipulate that system also by bringing tenancy reforms. It was a contract to be made, mentioning cost, how much area is to be given and how much time is to be given, right? That was. No one was supposed to break the contract. According to the new tenancy reforms, the contract should be made between the farmer and the landlord. What is to be written? That how much area you are giving on lease, what will be the cost of it, maybe in kind or cash or whatever, that is to be written, and how much time, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever the duration it is, that all is to be mentioned there. Once when the contract is made, nobody is supposed to change the contract, nobody is supposed to break the contract, because if the contract is to be broken, then the another party can go to the court. The court will decide, court will give the decision. It was helpful for both. It was helpful for the landlords because they were going to get whatever was required for them, whatever was written, whether the production is going up or production is going down. It was not the issue, but they were supposed to get whatever was fixed. At the same time, it was benefit for the farmers also, because if they have taken the land for 5 years or 2 years, the landlord could not take the land back from them at any cost. They could work hard and they could improve the production of the crops. They could try to get some more income. So it was beneficial for both. But at the same time, some disadvantages were also there, like the landlords were not ready to sign a contract, were not ready to make a contract, because they wanted to do any kind of cheating with the farmers. They wanted to get something extra, whatever is promised. So they were not ready to give it on the lease, or if they were giving it on the lease to the farmers, they were giving it without any contract. Right? They were not showing their interest in contract. That was a disadvantage of tenancy reforms. Now the next topic. The next topic is Green Revolution. When India got freedom from the Britishers. But there were a lot of problems in the society, in the country. The government was not able to cope up with them because it takes time. Even though India is considered as the primary occupation of the people, that is agriculture, the people are supposed to work in agriculture. Even though we had agriculture as our primary occupation, but still we were importing the grains from other countries. We were not able to have the grains as much as our requirement was. So the government tried to change the system by bringing Green Revolution to the country. It was the revolution which was to be done to the fields, to the farmers, to increase the production, to make the country independent in the field of agriculture, in the field of grains. We had two problems. The one was the barren land, and another was the hybrid seeds. These were the two ways how the government was trying to change the production. One was barren land, another was the hybrid seeds. First of all, about the barren land. Barren land is the land which is not fertile, where we cannot grow any kind of crop, any production we cannot expect from there. There was a large area, a large percentage of the total land which was barren, which was not giving any kind of production to the people. So what the government did? The government did soil test. That was the main reason. The soil test was done so that we can find out the reason why the land is not fertile. After soil test, the people, what they were doing, they were trying to get the chemicals whatever were required in the soil, in the fields. Because of that, the production was going to increase, the land was going to be fertile. All the chemicals which were required and the crops which could be supported by the soil, that were suggested by the agricultural field, by the Department of Agriculture to the farmers, by visiting village and village, so that they could get the fertile land. The next was the hybrid seeds. The seeds which the Indian farmers were using, they were the traditional seeds which were not giving the production. The production was very less. Moreover, they were taking a long time to get the crop ready for harvesting. The government prepared hybrid seeds. They imported also from other countries. Hybrid seeds are the seeds which were taking less time, were giving more production, right? They were taking less time. They were giving more production. But the reason was because of that we needed pesticides and fertilizers. When the hybrid seeds were to be used by the farmers, there were the chances that these crops are going to get some kind of bacteria, some kind of the problems, diseases from outside world, because the seeds were prepared in greenhouses only. So what the government did, it was also recommended that the farmers are going to use pesticides and the fertilizers along with the hybrid seeds so that the production will be increased. Because of that, that was the time 1960s to 70 when India became independent, not only in the grains for its own consumption, but they exported also. It was the first time when the production was exported to other countries, right? That was the effect of Green Revolution, which brought a lot of changes in the fields of the farmers. They just developed a new class. New class was developed in the villages, in the rural areas, because the farmers, those who could afford these all facilities to improve the land and to improve the production, they were changing their class. From the lower class, they were moving towards the lower middle class because the production was increasing. Because the production was increasing, their income was increasing, so they were trying to send their children to the school, to move outside. Their lifestyle was going to change. A lot of changes were coming to the life of those farmers. That is called a new class emerged because of the Green Revolution in the society, in the villages. We will move to our next topic. After this we have globalization. Globalization, and another one is liberalization. Globalization is when we are treating the whole world as family. Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, you can call it. You can call it when we are free to move to any country for any reason, for work, to get education, to export the production which we have, to import the material which we required. Anything could be done in the whole world. We were not supposed to sell to any one market. Market was open to us either in India or abroad. That was globalization. Liberalization means when the people, the companies, the countries, they were giving little bit more freedom to the laborers, to the employees, to the workers. That was called liberalization. Because of that, we got MNCs. Because of the globalization, we got MNCs in the country, multinational companies. Multinational companies are the companies which are working in many countries, not only in one. 2 countries, 5 countries, 10 countries, and so on. So when we got MNCs in the country, we got in urban areas obviously, but at the same time, we got those in rural areas also. We got MNCs in rural areas also, and they brought a new term, contract farming. The contract farming was done by the MNCs with the farmers of India, and how they were done, like you can see, a contract was made, the seeds etc. were given by the MNCs, production was to be purchased, profit was promised. See, the farmers of the rural areas, farmers of the country, they were poor enough. So when the poor person is given the greed of the profit, he usually comes in the contract with that. The contract farming was invented in the villages, like a contract was made between the company and the farmer for particular time period, particular things, the seeds, etc. Everything, whatever is required in the fields, that was given by the company. The farmer was not supposed to do anything there. The production to be purchased, whatever production will be there, the crops which they were going to harvest, to have in the field, all will be purchased by the company itself, right? The reason was the company was not working for the traditional crops. They were having new crops. The last one, the profit was promised to the farmers. The farmers were given a promise that surely you are going to get profit out of our farming, out of this farming, and that is needed by all. So because of that, they did it all. It went well for a few years for few farmers, but the MNCs were not ready to buy the production which was low in the quality, which was poor in the quality. Whenever there was a poor quality product, whenever there was a crop failure, then in that conditions the companies were not giving anything to the farmers. At that time it was a problem for the farmers to work. Later on, another thing was that the farmers have completely lost their whole rights in the land. They were not supposed to do any kind of changes in the land, because according to the contract, the company was the new owner, the company was the new one who is going to work in the fields whatever they want. The interference of the farmer was not to be tolerated by the companies. So according to these, in the beginning it was very attractive package for the farmers, but later on it proved to bring losses for them. So the farmers, they lost interest because there was some insecurity regarding the income because of the profit which they promised they were not giving. So the farmers, they lost this system also. After this, we have the last topic of the chapter, that is a very important and burning topic, that is farmers' suicide. Farmer, as I told you, that is the poorest person in the country. Nowadays also, earlier also. Nowadays we have the high-tech technology, but the land has been very less. During those time, the land was vast, the production was less, the technologies were not there. So it has always been a problem for the farmers since beginning. Nowadays also, when we are having the floods all over the world, there are lakhs of farmers who are suffering because of drought. They could not grow anything in their fields because there is no water, no rain, nothing. So the farmers, why they were suiciding? Because the reason, the lack of income. Fixed expenses like education of child, wedding ceremony, construction of house, illness. See, as you know, the farmers, they are already having very less income, but it becomes very vital when we are having certain kind of expenses. The expenses which a person cannot deny at any cost. You can see education of the child. It is not possible for the farmer to deny the education of the child, that I will not give you a fees, do not go to this school. Another one, wedding ceremony. If the child is having, the farmer is having a girl daughter, two girl daughters and whatever, the children, then the wedding ceremony needs money. To live in the society happily, peacefully, you need to spend some money on the wedding ceremony. It may be in the form of dowry, it may be in the form of feast. It can be any way. Dowry or arranging a feast. Anyone can be there. Because if you want to live in the society, you need to do these duties. You cannot ignore them. You cannot deny on the basis of money. Construction of the house, if the house of the farmer is not like to live in the rainy season, in the winter season, in the hot season, all the three seasons need a perfect and a peaceful house. So if the house is not like that, then the farmer is supposed to construct a new one or to renovate the old one. Again, we need the money. The last one is illness. If any family member of the farmer is ill, if the farmer's family's member that is suffering because of any severe disease, maybe got an accident, maybe sugar, maybe cancer, anything can be done. That is, we are not sure what is going to happen to anyone. So if the farmer is having anybody in the family who is suffering because of a severe disease, then the treatment of the person is also required. All these are the things which are not to be ignored by the farmer or by anyone. When the farmer does not have any money in the pocket and he has these all or anyone out of these, at that condition he needs loan from the other people. He takes loan from the money lenders at a very high rate of interest, because the banks, they do not give loan to the farmers. They need a guarantee, they need a security, and the farmer does not have security, does not have guarantee of the income. So the banks hardly give any money to the farmers. So they just take loan from the money lenders on a very high rate of interest. When they take the loan, they are fighting with all these problems and somehow they win out of these, but they lose the hope of life. When they lose, the crop failure is there, when they lose the production, when they lose the income for a few years, 1, 2 and 3 years like that regularly in a row, then the money which they borrowed, which they took as a loan from the money lender on high rate of interest, that becomes very huge amount. In that condition, the farmer is not able to repay the loan and he does not see any other option for that. There is nobody to help him in any way. When the farmer finds that these are the problems for him to survive, then what he does is he looks at it and he finds that the people, those who are working for him, those who are living in his family, those who were worried about him, now they are not ready to help him in any way. Then what happens? The people, they do not get anything. The condition comes with him when he is not able to decide who is my family member, who is my relative, and who is the one whom I should look for. The time comes when everyone tries to make a distance from the farmer, and he does not see any hope in the future also to come out of this problem. That is the time when the farmers tries to take a step of getting suicide. When he attempts suicide, because there is nothing left in the world for him and there is only one option left, to leave the world. When nobody from the family, nobody from the society is ready to help him, then he decides to leave the world and to go to the God. That is the thing. Very unfortunate for the country, very unfortunate for the poor farmers, because they are doing it. They are the people, those who are working hard in the country for the welfare of the country, but ultimately they have to choose to take their own life themselves. They are not going to fight with anyone. They'll just die as they attempt suicide. Right? So this was the chapter, the end of the chapter here now. Just keep on revising. Right? Hope you will get something out of it. If you have any other doubt, you can comment or text me. Right? Thank you very much.